Welcome to Gloria Loves Crafts. Today we're making a get well card. I had a friend who just recently had a hysterectomy and nothing says sorry about your lady parts like getting a nice card in the mail. So we'll start now. The supplies that you're going to need are a rubber stamp. I'm using Stampin' Up's Get Well Soup. You'll need some ink. I'll get into that more later. You'll need some white cardstock and some printed cardstock or scrapbook paper, something that has a print on both sides, so double-sided. You'll need a water pen and some watercolor pencils. I'm using Prima's Spring and Fall, and I just want to point out something, oh my god, about this paper. It's beautiful. This is vintagey, fun paper, but yes, look at it. I paid $28 for that. So we need to cut our paper. So our pattern piece, we're going to be cutting into 8.5 by 5.5. Now, cut that annoying strip off. It's always on that paper. I don't know why it's there. So 8.5. Yep, there we go. 8.5 by 5.5. Oh crap. 8.5, 8.5. Otherwise the flamingos would go in the wrong direction. So 8.5 by 5.5. Sorry, always be mindful of which direction your pattern is falling. And essentially that's a half sheet of regular 8.5 by 11 cardstock, and then we need two pieces cut in 4 inches by 5.25 inches. And that's for our front and for our center of the card. And yeah, see, like it just fits. Yeah, close that before I kill myself with it. Yeah, see, so we've got our front and our middle. And now we get to use our stamp. So I'm using Stampin' Up's Get Well Soup, and I'm using a StazOn solvent ink pad, which is a permanent ink. You need a permanent ink because we're going to be using water pencils with this. So just put lots of ink on it, yep, and press firmly, yep, just like that. You know what, that's not good enough, but that's okay, we got another shot at this. We'll just turn it over and do it again. Add a little more ink this time. But it's really important to use permanent ink for this step. And clean this permanent ink off right away. It will stain your stamps. And our next step is using a distresser. This is a lot of fun, but it makes more mess than glitter. Not even kidding you. So all you do is use this little round thing to scrape the edge, and it gives, I mean, it's a distresser, so it makes it look distressed and torn, but intentionally so. So you just kind of scrape around the edges, just hold the paper taut, and then just, there's a razor inside. You can't really hurt yourself with this. And if you don't have a distresser, you can always use the edge of scissors. I mean, it's not as easy as doing it with a distresser, but you know, I mean, if you don't have one, it works just as well. But I'll go back to the distresser so that I don't wind up killing myself before I get this project done. And do the inside as well. And after you're done the distressing, you can use some craft ink and just sponge the edges to kind of give it a little more pop right on top of the distressing. I'm using Stampin' Up Soft Sky because it matches the pattern paper that I'm going to be using, so that teal complements nicely. So now we get to play with the watercolored pencils. So these pencils are absolutely so much fun. So just like with anything that you're trying to add dimension to, things that you want in the shadows you want to be darker, and things that you want to be forward you want lighter, just like contouring your face. So what I'm doing is I'm using a teal colored pencil, and I'm just coloring around the edges. I'm not coloring right into the middle because we'll be able to blend with the water in a minute, and you know, coloring the little back of the pot. I'm using, you know, for the soup, I'm making it pink, just basically so that it matches the flamingos, but I don't know, maybe there's such thing as pink soup. And you can also blend different colors with these pencils. There's all kinds of possibilities with these pencils. And then what you do is you take your water pencil, now I'm using the back of my hand to make sure that the water's flowing, and see how it blends all that pink so you can't even see my pencil marks or anything like that? Now, when you go in between colors, use a paper towel to make sure that you're not bleeding the colors into each other. So, and see, like, it just blends. You just blend it around the edge into the center, and look at that. Like, it takes away all the pencil marks, and it just looks like I knew how to paint, and I knew how to shade, and it looks like I know what I'm doing. If you don't have a water pen, a Q-tip will work just as well for this. You just got to keep dipping into the water as you're going. But yeah, it gives it a nice soft shade. It's a perfect way to color a card. And of course you need to adhere your work. Look at that. There's my mistake, and nobody's ever going to see it because it's taped on the back, on the front. Nobody's ever going to see that again. I'm using a tape runner. Easy way to stick the card together. And look at that. Voila, I'm done. You can customize this card to whatever you currently have in your craft room. You don't have to buy anything special. And that's it. So thank you very much. Happy crafting.